the mechanism of life and how it works, the principle of life is so amazing, and I find it so fascinating how perfectly designed everything is, that we can just so elegantly and so perfectly see ourselves through the reflections and mirrors in the external world. I find it so amazing how these things work and how we can actually see ourselves in every single situation and in every single person that might trigger us or that we might judge in some way. And it's just life showing us something that we could never see if it was just us, just ourselves on our own. I find it really amazing to be present, to be conscious in situations that have the potential to trigger something in me that maybe would have been triggered in the past. And the program that carries this energy might come up some of these days. And I can see how being aware and being really in my heart, being witnessing, being observing the experience from this space of stillness, creating some space within the being, so these things outside of me can be just seen for what they are. I find that so fascinating to realize this through the experiences that come into my life. So I can see how the life is guiding us every step of the way, and it's showing us so patiently exactly what we need to be aware of, what we need to look at, what we need to pay attention to. It's really a perfect mechanism. It's an amazing tool, this body-mind, through which we can look back to the source of the life of ourselves and really see seemingly around us whatever is being pointed to. And so I can see that real spiritual maturity comes from being able to hold this space, to being able to be really conscious in the everyday situations, in conversations with other people, and in any situations that we come into, especially when they involve our close friends, family, partners. That's where the most potential lies. These situations can be really potent with the opportunities to see what's arising in our being, and also to see where I'm standing, what I'm identify myself as, or do I just step completely out of the identification and just witness everything as a neutral presence in which everything is allowed and everything just unfolds and happens spontaneously and there's nothing else to it. So I feel really enlivened with the experiences and situations and conversations that I've been having recently with people around me. And I can see how the real maturity really shows in our behavior, in our response to the same situations, perhaps as in the past. Maybe in the past they would trigger us, and these days we're just observing and witnessing them as something that is allowed to happen, and they don't trigger us, they don't touch us anymore. And that's really peaceful. It's really nice to feel that they don't have the power over us anymore, that we don't invest our attention and energy into trying to change something out there or trying to convince somebody about something, because that's not what it's about at all. So in just observing all these different programs and patterns that we know so well because they've been coming up repeatedly throughout our life, and we have been more or less conscious, less conscious maybe in the past, more conscious these days, but it's such a wonderful process to go through. I just want to really acknowledge all of us that we are choosing this experience, and we're choosing to go through this and really being in this play of life. I'm really grateful and really feel so connected with all of you who are on the same path, who are resonating with this journey, who are empowering yourself from the right place, from your heart, from your center of this being, and finding your power in just the truth of who you are, in the true self, and dissolving the identification and the hooks that have been controlling us in a way, our attention, our consciousness, by us allowing them to pull our attention into some kind of drama happening out there. So it's really quite a beautiful journey to see how present and how conscious we can stay in any situation that might be challenging perhaps for us, and how we can hold ourselves and hold that state of beingness and neutrality and consciousness, and from that space relating to other people, and just observe how things are allowed to just happen easily. And just notice how in situations that we would maybe blame and still project our unresolved things onto the external environment, onto other people, it's now completely owned and acknowledged and seen through by our being. And so we're not anymore pulled out of our center by anything that happens outwardly. And therefore we are holding this confidence in ourselves in a very natural, easeful, relaxed way. And so we don't have to get really involved in anything that is coming up within our mind, because we can just acknowledge it and see it and let it go. We don't have to attach to anything that our mind is offering us, whatever that would be, whatever would be coming up. A thought, an emotion, a judgment, or anything like that, we can just see it and let it be there. And it just goes, just comes and goes, and there's no problem in that. Because there's actually no problem in presence at all. There is no problem when you are not listening to your mind that is feeding you some kind of story, some kind of narrative. And then you see that everything is just allowed to unfold as it needs to unfold. And if you don't attach to it, then it just flows through you and you don't have to get worked out about anything. You don't have to, you're not sticky. There's nothing that I can stick to you because you're just allowing anything to just flow through. It's like physical space. It holds the furniture and the plants in it unconditionally. It doesn't affect the space in any way. The space is still completely free and open, and it can hold anything in it, but it doesn't identify with any of these things. They're just there, and that's totally fine. It's similar to this. It's like this consciousness, this container of your consciousness can hold anything. Whatever comes up in that consciousness, whatever emotion or thought or judgment comes up within the space of your being, you just let it be there, you just let it go through. You're just holding the center, the attention, the awareness in the center of your being. And I'm pointing to here, but it's not there. It's locationless space, spaceless space. And yeah, you just let it be there. You just let it go through, and it's very non-violent in that sense. It's very peaceful, very neutral, very allowing. And so you can just go through things, go through your day in a very relaxed way, just being very present. And even if it happens, and your attention goes a little bit into the story of the thought that mind is offering, you just go into it, and then within a few seconds you realize it. You realize that you're kind of developing the story by giving attention to the thought. You just become conscious, become aware of it, and that means that you have already taken stance of your center again. Because if you didn't see that, and if you would go into the story and you wouldn't realize it, then that would mean that you're not present and you're not conscious. But as soon as you realize it, it's perfect. You just acknowledge, you just say, oh, great, I'm aware again, I'm here again. I know what I am. And so you don't judge yourself with like, oh, I have gotten lost again and I wasn't conscious, whatever. It's not like that. It's just you realize it in that moment. You just acknowledge, I'm here, and things go on as they would always. So I just really want to again acknowledge all of us who are so courageously facing the reality from a really, really conscious space. And just acknowledge us who are really doing the best we can in bringing the unity into the space. Because whatever polarization or whatever conflict you see outside of yourself, it points to the conflict that you are invested in. If it wasn't within you, if this polarization or this conflict wasn't within you, you wouldn't see it outside. The life just works for us in every single moment, and it shows us through the experiences, through the situations that come into our consciousness, what we are holding inside, what beliefs we are holding inside. And it's such a beautiful journey if you see it that way. Seeing that there is no way that you would want to blame somebody out there, and because you know you're creating more of the conflict, but by being so, by judging, by polarizing even more, by saying these people are, or this group of people are impossible, they're so unconscious, they don't know what they're doing. You would just co-create that situation, because the way to deal with this, if any, is just being present with whatever is coming up in your consciousness, in your beingness, and just acknowledging it and just allowing it to go through without attaching to it, without in any way identifying with it. And when you don't give that attention that you have to your disposal at any moment, then it just kind of dissolves, and you don't give the charge to whatever the conflict is outside of yourself. And you just keep that energy within yourself, and you empower yourself by doing that. So thank you for being yourself, for being so brave, facing everything that is coming up within you. We're in this together, and we're doing this together.